Sweet and cozy night, and you are here by my side. Bells are ringing and the time is right to celebrate this Christmas. We're gonna have some fun. Merry Christmas to everyone. So everybody gather round and sing with me. Yeah, it's Christmas, joyful Christmas. Hang out Christmas lights. Let's celebrate tonight. Fairy lights, they shine so bright. We share this very special night. Close your eyes, make all your dreams come true. Oh, what a joyful Christmas. We're gonna have some fun. Merry Christmas to everyone. Now everybody gather round and sing with me. Well, it's Christmas, very joyful Christmas. Hang up Christmas lights. Ooh, let's celebrate tonight. If you feel alone, don't hide.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's LG, your favorite live streaming host here on the Viking Nation Live. Hoping everybody is having a fantastic week. Man, what is wrong with my screen? Looks like there's just snow in the air everywhere. Hey, listen, I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for Christmas. I know that we're a couple of days away from Thanksgiving, and that's okay. We can celebrate Christmas as well. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, let me go ahead and get the snow off the screen. But I am going to be festive, and we are going to do some Christmas lights. So that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. You know, I hope you've had a fantastic week. We got a good show tonight. We're going to talk about obviously the Lowndes coaching situation as well as some bracketology because we do have some games to talk about. Alan Law says, man, it's snowing under your house. I know, man. I got to get this roof fixed, Alan. But hey, that's just the way it is when we're all having a good time, right? Oh, I got to switch over to, I got to switch my my headset over as well because I can't hear. I can't hear into my ear for some reason. But anyway, everything's cool. Everything's cool. Hey, happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you are off to a fantastic week. I don't know about you guys, but I am tired. I had a really good weekend, had a very busy weekend. I'm sad to report to you guys that my Berrien Rebels are done for the year. I mean, they had a really, really good run. And man, oh man, I'm so proud of Big Red up in Nashville. My alma mater, they made it to the second round and just ran into a bear over in Pierce County. And man, did they run into over a bear over there. DJ Bell, I think that's his name, the kid's name. It was basically snap the ball to DJ Bell and run right or run left. He just basically picked his hole, and it worked all night long to the tune of, I think, 52 to nothing, something like that. So anyway, as we go on in the show tonight, we'll talk about more about that game as well as other games. But I want to hear from you guys tonight as well. If you had a chance to go to any of the games, it's getting down to the short rows now. This coming week, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, shopping and all that stuff. And there's going to be a handful of good football games left. Everybody's reaching the quarterfinal round. And so we're getting down to the slim pickings, if you will. So we'll get into all the bracketology and where all the favorite teams are and where your teams are, that kind of stuff. But as we, approach Thanksgiving, I am reminiscent as well. I've been kind of reflecting this week over the weekend, really thankful for my family, that kind of stuff. And I ran up on some old family photos. And I'm really thankful for my family as you are for yours. And as Thanksgiving gets here on Thursday, we'll be hosting both sides of our family. My family's coming over. My wife's family is coming over. And we'll have a lot of people here. And it's going to be a thankful day, a very stressful day, as you all are aware that when you host a gathering at your house, guys, just between us, there's no rest for us, because it's a very, very stressful time when you're trying to get the house cleaned up and make sure all the food is cooked, or people organizing, people bringing food, that kind of stuff. But you know what? It's all fun. I just absolutely love it. So I want to show you an old family photo that I ran across. This was, let me go ahead and try to bring this on the screen. I don't know if you could see this, but I kind of laughed out loud when I saw this photo that I was cleaning up my office, and I found this photo stacked underneath a bunch of books. And this is I don't know if you've ever gone to the mountains or maybe down to St. Augustine, and you go walk through the shops. And sometimes there's this old photography place that they have these old backgrounds and costumes that you could wear. So we did one of those things, and I thought this was perfect, being a Berrien County rebel, right? So anyway, this is our Old West family photo, if you will. Now, if you graduate that and fast forward to the present day, this is our current family photo. How things have changed. So from our family to yours, we wish you guys all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. So hope you are planning on having your family over. Maybe you're traveling to your favorite destination. Maybe your grandmother is still alive. Rufus, absolutely, man. Politics, religion, and sports. Great for Thanksgiving. And I'm not afraid, Rufus, just between us, I'm not afraid to talk about any of those topics. Now, I do typically steer clear of the political conversation unless someone else brings it up, and then I'm all in. So anyway, I'm not afraid of that, especially when you kind of ambush a family friend, or maybe a friend of kids that have come over, or maybe you got an aunt or uncle that might be dating someone, they bring someone over. So, and they may not know the family rules or the family dynamics. And sometimes they'll bring it up, and man, my brother and I, we have made a sport out of ambushing a visitor like that, a guest like that. And it's kind of fun and hilarious when we get together and do that kind of stuff. So yeah, Rufus, I'm with you, man. Politics, religion, and sports, great for any Thanksgiving. Franklin Webb, man, very kind words. Keep your heads up, rebels. Yeah, they got nothing to be. And I think they have a lot of talent coming back next year as well. So we're expecting them to have another good season next year. So we'll see. Coach Trainer says that's Pierce's only play. It very well could be, but Trainer, just between us, man, when you got a player like that and you've got 10 other guys that can block the way that Pierce County does, do you really need any other play? Didn't they win a state championship with basically that one play? So anyway, they did have a couple of other plays, because there was one point in the game where Berrien, after a punt, Berrien really pinned them deep in their territory. So they got the ball like a 1 yard line. And then after I think it was a holding call on the next play, they were backed up like half the distance to go. So now they're on the like half yard line. So Berrien's got the line stacked. And so what does Pierce do? They line up with DJ Bell behind the center like he normally does. And this time they throw a bomb pass down the field. And the receiver got behind our guys and raced 99 and a half yards for a touchdown. And that was the first, might have been second or third of many, 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 many touchdowns as well. Now I don't know how you guys feel about this, but the Pierce County coach did something several times in that game. I don't really know how to react to it. Let me get your opinion on something. If your team is down by, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, right? And you know how they have a running clock in the second half. But, it was 49-0 at the half. And so Pierce they were just a dominant team. There was nothing that Berrien could have done to win that game, even come close to winning that game that night. But Pierce did something interesting. They would break these long runs, let's say from their 20-yard line. They would break these long runs, and the running back would run 80 yards, actually 79 yards, and right before he crossed the goal line for another touchdown, he would purposely run out of bounds at the 1 yard line. And then for the next 4 plays, they basically would snap the ball and take a knee, right? And then basically give Berrien the ball back, that kind of stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to not run up the score, right? Which is very admirable because you don't want to embarrass the other team. But if you're the other team, is it more insulting to see the other team do that, run out at 1 yard line and then take a knee 4 straight downs to turn the ball back over, force you to punt so you can do it again for the entire second half? Because they did that over and over again. So my only question is, if that was what they were going to do, why not run out of bounds at the 50-yard line or the 40-yard line? Run it all the way down there to the 1 yard line and then take a knee. I mean, that to me, that was more of an insult. Am I reading something else in it? I don't know. So anyway, but it was an interesting game. It zoomed by in a hurry. Why didn't Berrien ask for a running clock at the beginning of the third quarter? Because Rufus, I would imagine it was probably because it was a playoff game. And if it was a regular season game, they probably would. I'm just guessing there, but I can't read the mind of Coach Alligood. But I'm assuming that they didn't do that because they probably still had some hope, I guess, and didn't want to do that because it was a playoff game. But Mark Dixon says, yeah, he agrees with me. It was a slap in the face. It was very insulting the way they did that. And I'm sure that probably was not the intent of the Pierce County coach, right? But that, to me, that's just how it came across. And I was talking to some fans up in the stands, and they felt the same way. And it's like, oh my gosh. Ben says, don't listen to Rufus. He's a troll. Yeah, I know all about Rufus. I know about his reputation, but that's okay. I'm a big boy. Rufus is free to say what he wants. I'm not in the habit of censoring people, although, that might kind of fly in the face of claims by some other people that claims that I censor people. So anyway, y'all just read between the lines on that deal. So anyway, we had a good time over there, had a really good time driving all the way back. I love driving over there with my family, and we get into some really great conversations, but that's another show for another day. Let's talk about the games that are coming up. So before we get into our bracketology, let me go ahead and thank some of our sponsors because I want to make sure I thank them. We want to thank the folks at PepsiCo Bottling Company here in Valdosta for sponsoring our show the entire year. the makers of Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy, Mountain Dew Spark. Thank you so much to the Pepsi Bottling Company for being our title sponsor. We want to thank Tim Neesmith at A Shade of Perfection. Guys, this guy knows what he's doing when it comes to customizing shades and blinds. So if you need that service, if you are thinking about upgrading your house, in the coming new year or maybe before the end of the year, give Timmy a call. We affectionately call him Stickman. Whatever you call him, make sure you call him at 229-251-3479, A Shade of Perfection. He'll go ahead and get you hooked up on that. We want to thank these guys, Josh Batson and Justin Haskin at the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. They are the certified headache medicine specialists offering a variety of migraine and back pain treatments. So give Josh and Justin a call at the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. We thank these guys, all these guys, been with us all year long. Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment, 229-850-8848. Thank you so much, Kyle, for sponsoring our show, for sponsoring the White Oak Investment comment line and our phone line as well. We thank Matthew Godwin at Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. Guys, if you need to upgrade your phone, iPhones, Androids, accessories, small business accounts, give Matthew a call at Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. We thank Steve Nichols at Freedom with Steve Nichols. Guys, sometimes he'll get your blood boiling. Sometimes he'll make you laugh until your stomach hurts. Sometimes you'll agree with him, but he does make you think. And in this day and age, it's important to be able to view, I guess, all sides of the issue, I guess. So he does have some folks that disagree with him call into a show, and it's a very robust conversation. I'll just leave it at that. So if that's your cup of tea, give Freedom with Steve Nichols a try every morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. We thank our friends at Commercial Banking Company, 229-242-7600. You might need a personal checking account, savings account, CDs, IRAs, auto loans, mortgage loans, business loans. The fine folks at Commercial Banking Company treat you like family. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors, and we look forward to seeing these guys return and other sponsors in the coming new year. So let's talk about the lounge situation. We'll spend the next 15 minutes or so talking about that before we get into the remaining bracketology. Let's go ahead and get over to the White Oak Investment comment line. What are you guys talking about over there? Don't listen to Rufus. He's a troublemaker. Yes, Ben, he can be. Rufus shoots back and says, "Hey, Ben, how about them Northside Eagles?" I see what you did there, Rufus. I see what you did there. Trainer. That's a funny comment, man. That's a funny comment. Jason Anderson says maybe put in the second string offense and let them get reps instead of toying with. Yeah, Jason, they could have had the second. I have no idea. But I just question the way they did it. Having personnel in there, it was obvious Berrien was just way, way overmatched. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Let's talk about Lowndes. Guys, when this time of year, it's the coaching silly season, whether it's the Lowndes situation or other openings that will probably be coming up pretty soon, right? We hear all kinds of names this time of year. I mean, all kinds of names this kind of time of year. And sometimes they're names that you're familiar with. Sometimes they're not. Now, here's the way I see it. Before we talk about specific names, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Now, you see a DM here. What in the world is that? This DM, this is my Viking Nation whiteboard. Okay. These are the decision makers. So when an opening comes up like this, whether it's Lowndes or Valdosta a couple of years ago, if you put yourself into the shoes of the hiring manager, the decision maker, what do you do? Right? What do you do? A lot of times you reach out to the people you start with, most likely those people that are closest to you or the ones that you are familiar with. Jason and I are in the corporate world, and Jason, we're very familiar with this, right? So a lot of times when there's an opening that comes up, a district manager will reach out to the people that may have worked for him in the past or her in the past with a different company, and they want to recruit that person because why? Because they already have history. They're very familiar with them, right? So that's normal. That's what people do a lot of times. So these decision makers, like let's just insert a name into here. Let's put Sean Harrelson in there as the decision maker, the superintendent at Lowndes. Yeah, Jason, you're exactly right. A known quantity. So now if you are Sean Harrelson, the ultimate decision maker at Lowndes, who are you already familiar with? Who do you have knowledge? Who do you have history with? Right? So I can tell you that Sean Harrelson has been a superintendent, not just at Lowndes, but at Fitzgerald as well. That's the only other place that he was a superintendent. Now he was a principal at other locations in Bullitt County. I think that's up in the Statesboro area, right? But Fitzgerald, Ben Hill County is the first stop as a superintendent. So when did he get there? He got there in 2016. Oh, you guys can't see that because of my Christmas lights. Let me go ahead and put that in. 2016. So who does he already have history with? We know that he has history with two coaches while he was there at Fitzgerald. Who are those two coaches? When he got there, right, you had Jason Strickland. Is Jason Strickland still around? Absolutely he is. Where's he at? Ware County. Okay. I'm not saying that Jason Strickland has applied for this job. I'm just giving you some logic. Now, it's sometimes you call it LG warped logic, but it is logic based on my experience in the corporate world and watching superintendents and athletic directors hire in the past, right? Because they do this all the time. Listen, the coaching world and the school administration world is a very, very close society, if you will. It's a fraternity. They take care of each other. And if you don't believe me, you're fooling yourself. They do. Coaching, there's a real coaching circle out there. Whether it's coaches that have worked together in the past, superintendents that have worked with coaches in the past, it's a very tight-knit group. So normally that's the first people you reach out to. Who else did he work with over there? Tucker Pruitt. Lowndes is familiar with Tucker Pruitt. Man, that is some awful handwriting, I got to admit. So, yeah. Dixon Golf says Tucker Pruitt will be the coach just going through the motions. They'll wait till his season's over to make now, Dixon, are you guessing? Are you making an informed guess? I guess an informed guess. Are you got some insider information that you want to share with us? I mean, that was a pretty definitive statement that you just made there. If that's the case, then that's pretty interesting. Trainer says that Strickland and the Gators have a bad case of the chokes. I probably should have read that to myself before I read it out loud. I don't know about a bad case of the chokes. And the Gators have faced some very, very stiff competition. I wouldn't call it choking, right? You can make the argument that Jason Strickland has maximized the talent that he's had over in Ware County, right? Because he's got South Georgia. There's not a lot of kids beating down the doors to transfer into Ware County because it's so isolated. Now, although that's not the case this year, they did have a quarterback transfer in. They lost last year. They had an all-world quarterback in Thomas Castellanos, and he graduated, is now down, I believe, at University of Central Florida playing for Gus Malzahn. So he knows something about coaching quarterbacks. So during the offseason, he had another really good quarterback transfer in. So but Ware County is not a school that has a reputation of bringing in or having a lot of transfers show up at their door. So these are the two that I would logically start with. because those are the winning coaches that not Jason Strickland, but Sean Harrelson as a superintendent has supervised. Now, it is true that Jason Strickland was probably on his way out the door when Sean Harrelson arrives at Ben Hill County, right? Because I think Strickland's last year in Fitzgerald was 2016. So he leaves at the end of January 2017. And that's when Tucker Pruitt is hired, right? So there was a little transition between the two coaches. So does he have a lot of experience with both coaches? No. He's got some experience with Strickland, and he's got a little bit more experience with Tucker Pruitt. Both of them are excellent coaches. So let me just throw this question while we're talking about this. Let me throw this question out there. If you had your choice between the two, who would you pick? They both run pretty dynamic offenses, right? If you're a Lowndes fan, we all know the offensive reputation that comes with Tucker Pruitt. Yeah, some would consider him a very, very, I guess, talented offensive coordinator and play caller. He's a known commodity to Lowndes. We saw up close and personal what he could do with Lowndes, albeit he was only at Lowndes for 1 year as Randy McPherson's offensive coordinator, but he did really, and he ran a very balanced offense. I went back and looked at the stats those years, and Tucker Pruitt, I think he had like 1,700 plus yards of rushing and like 1,700 plus yards of passing. So he had a very, very balanced offense. So then he moves to Valdosta the very next year in 2016 and helps Alan Rodemaker win a state championship. And he does it with a dual quarterback system, which we all know that is very difficult to do. So it looks like on the surface anyway, he was able to maximize the offensive skill set of each of the quarterbacks. I remember during that season, halfway through the season, one of the quarterbacks was struggling. So he basically took him out, inserted the other quarterback, and the other quarterback really picked up the team. I actually think that was in the game against Wayne County. One of the quarterbacks, the Cats were kind of struggling during that game. So he inserts the other quarterback and gives the Cats a lift, and they go on to win that game. So Tucker Pruitt is a known commodity to Lowndes, and he's a known commodity to Valdosta. I think the folks in Valdosta would be nervous if Tucker Pruitt were named head coach at Lowndes. That's my honest opinion. Okay. So if it turns out to be Tucker Pruitt, then that's probably a good hire, right? He's got a state. If a state championship is a criteria for Lowndes, and I don't really know if it is or not, but if it is, then you check the mark, you check the box. He's got a state championship, although it's one. It was last year. And incidentally, he beat Zach Grage, who was the head coach at Thomasville, in the state championship game. So that's a kind of a very interesting backstory since Zach Grage is now exiting the Lowndes program. So we fast forward. Who's the other guy? Jason Strickland at Ware County. Now, Strickland, if you're a Lowndes fan, Strickland is not as well known as Tucker Pruitt. But if you take a look, and traditionally in the past, he was known as a wing T guy. But then he gets over to Ware County and he doesn't run the wing T. Some would say that he runs a shotgun based wing T. So when I go back and look, it doesn't look like a wing T to me. It looks more like a traditional spread. He may have some wing T blocking schemes. I'm not sure. But anyway, or is it the case where he was smart enough to bring in another offensive coordinator that modernized the offense? I don't know. All those questions are legitimate questions if it's someone like Jason Strickland. But if you take a look at his offensive production over the last 4 years, I think this is his 5th year at Ware County. So I'm going to give you some stats. So Jason Strickland he took over at Lamar County in 2008, went 1-9 the first year. And I'm looking at that, it's like, whew. But then you take a look at what he was able to do after that. In 2009, he was 7-4. In 2010, he was 7-4. Then he makes the big leap. In 2011, reaches the quarterfinals with Lamar County and goes 12-1. Then he gets hired at Fitzgerald. I suppose this is when Robbie Pruitt goes to Coffee County, I think. And so Jason Strickland is hired by Fitzgerald and then goes 10-3, 7-5, 12-2. And his last 2 years there, he makes it to the state championship game. In 2015, he goes 13-2. And in 2016, he goes 13-2. And listen to this, guys. In 2015, his offense scored 576 points. His defense gave up 283. In 2016, his final year at Fitzgerald, his offense makes or gains 576 yards. No, I'm sorry. Let me back up. 632 yards of offense, and his defense gives up 271 yards. Pretty impressive. So then he gets hired by Pierce County. And Pierce County, he spends 2 years. Now, here's the knock on Jason Strickland. This little time period here from 2016 to 2019, he's the head coach of 3 programs. But is that normal nowadays? He spent 4 years at Lamar. He spent 5 years at Fitzgerald. He spent 2 years at Pierce County, and now he's in his 5th year at Ware County. So he spends 2 years in Pierce County in 17 and 18. He goes 5-6 his first year, and then 13-1 his second and final year, and he reaches the semifinals. You see a pattern here? He's able to, it looks like on paper that he's able to elevate a team and makes these deep playoff runs, and then he goes on to his next assignment, and it happens to be a bigger program, right? So now he's at Pierce County, reaches the semifinals. Then at this time, Ed Dudley, not Ed Dudley, but Franklin Stevens is the head coach at Ware County. That doesn't work out. Franklin Stevens goes to McEachern, and then Ware County calls on Jason Strickland, who's right next door in Blackshear, and offers him the job. His first year at Ware County, he goes 8-4, reaches the second round. His second year, he goes 10-2, reaches quarterfinal. Third year, 9-2, reaches the second round. Fourth year, which is last year, he goes 11-0 and reaches the quarterfinals. So it looks like he's got a pretty good track record. Now in his 5th year, right? In his 5th year, what is he currently? I'm sorry. No, this is his 4th year. Let me back up. I digress. I told you wrong. This is his 4th year. And he's currently, is that right? He's currently 11-0. Yeah, he's currently 11-0. And he's in the quarterfinals against Calhoun this Friday night. That's pretty impressive, don't you think? You know, someone said earlier that he's got a history of choking. I wouldn't characterize it as choking by any means, but he does have a pretty good track record. So now that you know the history of these 2 coaches, I'm going to ask you again, if you were on a voting panel and you were advising Sean Harrelson, who would you choose between, if both of these guys, and I'm not saying they are, I don't even know if both of them have applied. Well, let me take that back. I can't make that statement. Let's assume for a second that they applied. Okay. Who do you advise Sean Harrelson to make the offer to if they're both interested? Now that you know the history, do you go Jason Strickland in this corner, or do you go Tucker Pruitt in this corner? So Jason Anderson, first out of the blocks, he says Tucker Pruitt. Trainer says Tucker Pruitt. Rufus says if it's only those 2, you choose Tucker Pruitt. Now, this is where I'm going to ask you guys, why? Why? Jody Hewitt says, he says, I hear you, LG, but I know how coaching goes. What need to be looking to hire is an offensive coordinator-oriented head coach. Then we hire an assistant head that is straight up dog as a DC. I don't disagree with you, man. The very first thing I'm looking for if I'm in charge of the Lowndes coaching hire is I'm looking for a very, very, very offensively minded coach, not this 3 yards and a cloud of dust stuff. I'm looking for a very dynamically offensive minded head coach that also has a history of making good hires. I think that is a lost question nowadays when folks hire for a head coaching job, because everyone is dazzled by the records and the state championships and things like that. But I think people forget to look at the assistant coaches, specifically the coordinators that they hire, and how often these assistant coaches turn over for them. I think that's a lost question. I'll get some text here. I didn't get my link or the number. Well, I'll send it to you right now. My bad, man. I thought. Oh my goodness. Let me go. Hold on, guys. I got to take care of some housekeeping here. So I forgot to send a link to someone. Hold on a second. All right. All right, Chase. It is on the way. The heck, man. Oh, there we go. All right. So let me get back to this. So who do you invite? Now, who do you? Let me back up. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that's a legitimate question? Would you ask someone in the interview process if they are or who they would hire or who they've hired in the past? Because coaches don't necessarily put that kind of stuff on a resume, right? Now, for whatever reason, it's like unanimous. You guys are saying Tucker Pruitt. Is that because you don't necessarily know about Jason Strickland? That's what it sounds like to me. Let me get another voice and opinion in here since we're talking Lowndes. Let me get a Lowndes guy in here. Jason, you been monitoring the show?
Briefly, I just realized what time it was, and I was like, "Oh, wait."
My bad, man. My bad. So anyway, let me ask you a question. There's other people that have applied or expressed interest, and I'm not going to reveal those names. Okay, but if it were between two, if you were advising Sean Harrelson, Chase, who would you pick between those two? Given what I've already just shared with you guys.
Okay, here's my question, and I'm gonna ask this because I think this is a little bit of an unknown. What offense does Jason Strickland run?
Well, he traditionally he was a wing T guy, but if you take a look at Ware County, highlights and if you subscribe to NFHS, there's plenty of Ware County games on there that you can watch, and it doesn't look like a wing T to me. It looks like a traditional spread. Sometimes he'll go empty backfield with an athletic quarterback, and the quarterbacks that he's had. Well, he's really had one quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, for the last 4 years. He put up a lot of passing yards with Castellanos, and this new kid, I don't know what his name is, but he's not afraid to air it out.
No, I saw where he had a little over 2,000 yards passing so far this season.
Yeah.
And he's only a junior.
That's right.
As long as he's bringing in the spread and it's a true spread, I would be okay with Jason Strickland, but my heart says we go with Tucker Pruitt just based on the fact that I've seen what Tucker's offenses can do when he's got the firepower to work them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only reason I would lean more towards Tucker than Jason Strickland would be due to the fact that Tucker has a state title.
I got you. Now, some folks are on here claiming that Tucker can adjust his offense to meet the talent, which is true. We've seen that at Fitzgerald. We've seen that at both Lowndes and Valdosta because he has run different offenses at different stops along the way.
Yeah, he has, very much so.
So let's talk about some other coaches because, I think we beat this horse to death. So when it comes to these two guys, I'll just leave this. So now Chase, I was talking about, well, you called the show. I was talking about if you're a decision maker, you often will reach out to those people that you're closest with to begin with, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we came up with names like Jason Strickland and Tucker Pruitt on this side. Okay. So let me go ahead and erase this. So then if those two guys, obviously you want more choices, then who do you reach out to? Then this is where someone like a Sean Harrelson, since he's brand new to Lowndes, he probably reaches out to his close Lowndes confidants, whether it's the athletic director or, other assistant coaches that have been around for a while, maybe the touchdown club officers, people that are close to the program. And then he starts asking, and I don't know if he's done this, but this is the way I would think that someone would do this. So he probably asked them, and then those people would probably start naming quality people that they know and have history and experience with. So who are some of those people? Byron Slack.
Yeah.
Right. We've heard that name. So we've had experience with Byron Slack, and Byron Slack is a known commodity to Lowndes. He's a fan favorite. That's probably safe to say, right?
Yeah, he is.
Here's the truth, Chase. I don't think Byron Slack is coming back to Lowndes.
I would just about guarantee you he's not. I
would be shocked.
Look, based on a conversation I was having the other day, I've pretty much been told that whatever Lowndes offers him, Cook will match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they really do love that man up there.
Yeah. Hey, before we go, hey, Rufus, appreciate you checking out, being a loyal fan of the show. Happy Thanksgiving, man. God bless you. And listen, Rufus, before you go, just between us, right? Because our Vikings are knocked out of it. Go Colquitt. I hope you guys have clear sailing all the way to the title game and win it all, man. So go Packers. So anyway, guys, that's all one and only time I will ever say that. So y'all forgive me for all you Lowndes fans over there. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Rufus. Thanks for checking us out. He says he's got to go. So anyway, all right, let's get back to talking. So I don't think Byron Slack is coming back to Lowndes just because, man, he is the king of Cook County right now, right? He has revitalized that program, injected some much needed energy and discipline. And those administrators, those boosters up there, the fans, the players, they all love Byron Slack.
They do.
And so, yeah, I've heard that too, that whatever Lowndes throws at him, that they're going to, they're probably going to match it. Right?
Yeah, because I made the comment to him, I didn't think their checkbook was that deep. And he said, oh, trust me, we got the checkbook ready.
Yeah. And I think that's a good, we talk about in the hiring world, we talk about a good fit, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's safe to say Zach Garage was not a good fit at Lowndes. Now, that's not to take away from the talent, the coaching talent that Zach Garage obviously possesses, but I think there's going to be a school system out there, a program that's going to be a better fit for Zach, right? And I wish him and his family all the best. I just don't think he's a good fit. I said that because I think Byron Slack is the perfect fit for Cook County.
I think he is, and I think that's why he's doing so well up there. Is I really think, and when I look back, whenever Mac was retiring, and everybody, including myself, thought that they should have gave Byron Slack the nod as head coach. But looking back on it, he had no head coaching experience that I can recall. So he left Lowndes and he went to, I think, Hillgrove, correct?
Yep.
And he took his head coach at Hillgrove, and I think he stayed there only 1 year.
Right.
And then I think he went to, I want to say, Colquitt. And then he left Colquitt and went to Cook.
Uh-oh. Chase, when you get into a better zone, give us a shout back. So anyway, yeah. So I don't think Byron Slack is going anywhere. So other Jason, I just saw your comment. So Jason Anderson says, "So who, man?" And then he's got some poop symbols there. So then you got other names like Tommy Watson. He went off. He was a longtime Lowndes assistant, went off and really revitalized the Lambert football program and recently left and now is over in West Georgia, I believe, as a first-year head coach over there to be closer to his family. So I don't think Tommy Watson's coming back to Lowndes because he made it known that he wants to be closer to his family. You never know. You never know. Right? So then are there assistants on the Lowndes program that want to be head coaches? Right. I'm pretty certain there are some people with the Lowndes program that want to be head coaches. Right. I remember when McPherson left, I'm pretty sure Tommy Watson applied. I'm pretty sure Byron Slack applied. Well, maybe not. I can't say 100% sure there. But there's some other people that apply. Now, would existing Lowndes assistants be considered for this job? People like Josh Akers. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's been a passing game coordinator. They're a longtime Lowndes assistant. He might get consideration, right? So you start looking at that. Someone like Jackson Dean. He was a Lowndes assistant that went off and became the offensive coordinator for East Coweta. I think he moved to another program. Recently came back to South Georgia and is now the offensive coordinator for Cook County. So is it someone like Jackson Dean? I don't think so. Someone like a Lowndes pro. I had this conversation via text earlier today. I'm not going to talk about all the details, but we were talking about some names throwing out, that kind of stuff. And I made the point. I said, if you are a Lowndes program, if you are a Lowndes decision maker, right? What do you think of Lowndes? You think that you are a premier program. Now, some of you are going to agree with that, and some of you aren't. In my mind, I think Lowndes is a premier program. So you think about you got a premier program, and you think that Lowndes has got to be, in my experience, Lowndes is not going to settle for anything small. I mean, they love building big things. You got a big stadium. You got a big scoreboard. You got another big scoreboard, even larger scoreboard on the way. Close to $1 million allocated for that scoreboard, and that's on the way, right? So you got a full 120-yard, full-length indoor practice facility that's nearing completion. Getting this text message from Chase. Yeah, I don't blame. So Chase had to go take care of a personal matter. So Lowndes thinks it's of itself as a premier program, and it builds these big, and it spends a lot of money, which many fans are in favor of, very justified, right? So now when it comes to hiring someone as the head of that organization, that big premier organization, are you going to settle? Are you going to settle for an assistant coach? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not knocking any assistant coach applies for it. I'm just logically thinking this through, right? So now you've got a chance to go out there with the brand that's behind Lowndes and go out there and get a big name. Is that what you do? So some of you said, that said, who? As it Cochran. You said, Sharon Hemp says no 2A coaches, including Freeman. So Sharon, you're automatically, not including, you're automatically excluding Tucker Pruitt, which obviously is a fan favorite. I mean, a lot of people voted for Tucker a while ago. You're excluding someone like you're including someone like Coach Freeman. over in Brooks County, right? That's what you just said. But you're excluding a lot of coaches, and I completely understand what you're saying. Because why? We just had a 2A head coach in Zach Grage, and some of you may have had a bad taste in your mouth through that experience. So I understand what you're saying, right? Now, it could be someone that is from a big time program, like we keep hearing this name, someone like Matt DeBuck, who is a head coach of Cardinal Gibbons down in South Florida. Now, someone will, he's got, I think, 3 state championships, and he's on the verge of winning another state championship this year. So now some would knock Coach DeBuck, someone like a Matt DeBuck, because he coaches in South Florida, and Florida has different transfer rules and eligibility rules, and people claim that he brings in a lot of players. So here's my rebuttal to that, right? So if he brings in a lot of players, he still has to play those teams in South Florida who also, supposedly brings in a lot of players. So his brought in players are able to defeat other brought in players, right? So, but is he a good coach? Is he a good head coach? I know there's this raging debate out there right now in the high school football world about coaches that recruit versus coaches that don't recruit. I don't know who to believe. A lot of people say all coaches recruit. Some people say no, they don't. Whatever. But the question is, can someone like that win in Georgia, in South Georgia? Well, if they win in South Florida, can they win in South Georgia? I don't know. But that's Matt DeBuck, right? Now, a lot of you are going to say, Matt who? We don't know that name. So there's no way that, we're automatically going to discount a name like that. Let me share a story with you. I'm going to throw out a name out there. A guy named, let me take this off the screen. A guy named Matt Helmrich. You're going to say, Matt who? Matt Helmrich. He was an offensive coordinator. I believe he was an offensive coordinator for St. Thomas Aquinas several years ago. Never had a head coaching job. So he interviews for a coaching job in Georgia. And so, I'm talking to him, and he's sharing this story with me. It was either early this year or late last year, one or the other. But he's sharing this story. And he tells me that he's sitting across from an administrator and going through the interview process, and the administrator is looking down at his resume. And so he says, Coach, where is St. Thomas Aquinas? Now, you and I are going to be incredulous when it comes to a question like that, because we are big football fans, high school football fans, and St. Thomas Aquinas, to 90% of us watching this program, we are going to recognize that name. It's a household brand in the world of high school football, right? St. Thomas Aquinas. How can you not know who that program is? But there are people out there that don't. So Coach Helmer, so Matt, he's telling me about this story. And I share this with you because that administrator did not hire him, even though he was an offensive coordinator for one of the most successful football programs in the country. He didn't hire him because he was not familiar with him. Goes back to my point. We hire people that we know. Is Sean Harrelson one of those people? Is he going to hire someone that he knows, or is he going to take a chance and go outside of his circle? So who's outside of his circle? Someone like Matt DeBuck. Someone like Tony Pierce. He's another assistant for a big time program, right? Someone like, I'm going to throw this out here. This is one of the first names. Oh, you guys can't, I put this back on the screen. This is one of the first names that I thought of. Trent Dilfer. He is the current head coach, and I had a chance to interview him for another podcast that I do earlier this year. And, he is a former NFL Super Bowl winning quarterback, but now he is not teaching, but now he is coaching at a private school in Kentucky. right? A private high school in Kentucky. So if Lowndes is a premier program and you've got the resources to go out there and get who you want, why not take a chance on a big, big name? Someone like a Trent Dilfer. Would he ever entertain moving to Valdosta to take over a Lowndes program? I have no idea. But my point is, why not? If you're going to shoot for the moon, man, shoot for the moon, right? Because this might be your one chance for the next 10 to 15 years. That's how a head coach, that's how long they can last at Lowndes, right? So why not shoot for the moon? I'm not saying go out there and hire Trent Dilfer, but it'd be great if you gave him a call. You never know. He might be interested. Why is that important in today's football world? Yeah, Showtime says, wow, really? Who don't know where St. Thomas Aquinas is? There are some people that have never heard of St. Thomas Aquinas. I'm telling you, Showtime, it happens. So if you're Lowndes and you're building these big time facilities where you $9 million on a practice facility, another million or so on renovating the visitor side of the stadium, another $5 to $10 million building a new football field house, which is coming, right? So when you're building all these, and by the way, we're getting ready to replace the turf that's at the stadium as well. That's already been approved. It's probably going to be done during the off season. So, man, why not shoot for the stars? Go out there. Why is that important? Well, shoot, guys. Why in the world are we in an arms race with all these football programs around here, right? Do y'all really think that any school is going to build a indoor facility to keep kids out of the rain? Do you really think that's what's happening in this arms race that we're currently in? Schools are not building indoor practice facilities to keep kids out of the rain. Just get that out of your mind. That's not the reason why. You don't spend $9 million to put a shelter over to protect yourself from the rain. There's been football going on for 100 years or so in South Georgia, and teams have done just fine sweating it out. Right? Makes them tough down here. And so, we're not building a $9 million facility to keep kids out of the rain. So why are we building all these facilities? Let me tell you something. To attract people. Mark Dixon says it's for the band. That's funny. Now, some administrators will say it's for the ROTC, but we all know better. So anyway, listen, that's what you get when you tune into this program. You get real talk. It's not going to be bashing people, that kind of stuff, but it is real talk. And we're having a real conversation. So the reason why we're in an arms race now is because to attract talent. We want to attract talent. We want to use those facilities to attract the best coaches and the best players. Now, don't misunderstand me. You just heard me say that, right? I'm not saying these school systems are using these facilities to recruit players. I'm saying it's basically a big billboard. Because let's be honest about it. We are in an era where kids, the best players, the best athletes move around. That's just the way it is. It used to be just up in the metro Atlanta area, but now it's happening all over the place. It's happening all over the state. And we've seen some high profile cases in the last couple of years of athletes moving from school system to school system, right? So why are we in an arms race? We're in an arms race because we want to be the first stop. I'm just telling you the way it is. You will never, ever hear a Lowndes administrator, a Valdosta administrator, a Colquitt County administrator, anybody that builds these facilities ever tell you this. But that's why our programs do this, right? Because how do I know this? Because I've heard interviews from people like Rush Probst, plenty of interviews by people like Jamie DeBose and other coaches. And one of the first things they do is brag about their facilities to other people. Why do you do that? Because you want to attract talent. Jason Anderson says, you said the recruiting word. I did, but I made a little caveat with that. Because when an athlete gets ready to transfer, or maybe a coach leaves a program to go on to another program, that kind of stuff, and so players, families, they start looking around, and what do? They're attracted to programs that have high profile coaches and have high profile facilities. That's why, getting back to this coaching search, if I'm in a decision making role with the Lounge system, right? I'm shooting for the moon and hiring the biggest name that has a history of winning that I can get. I'm not staying local. I'm going for the biggest name that has a reputation of developing quarterbacks and skill positions and getting kids in college, and all that stuff is important to families nowadays. Why not take this opportunity, right, to put a great big green light billboard on your program that says, hey, you want to play football? We are the biggest and the baddest in the area. We got the best coaches around. We got the best facilities around. So if you're happy where you're at, stay. But if you're unhappy, here we are. The doors are wide open. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's what these programs are doing it. That's what these programs are thinking in the back of your mind. Trust me, that this is what's happening. Okay. No one is ever going to say this stuff out loud, but that's exactly what is happening. So if I'm a decision maker at Lounge or any other program, and I've got the resources, facilities, funds, and my fan base is all behind me, man, I'm shooting for the moon and getting the biggest and baddest name that I can get. So anyway, so who is that going to be? Now that's the $50,000 question. Or in this case, it might be the $150,000 question, if you know what I mean, right? Jason Anderson says, now that's recruiting, LG. Let's go. No, that's building facilities and allowing people to make up their own minds. That's what that is, Jason. I have never, ever been against transfers, but you just got to do it right. You just got to do it right. And to me, building facilities and hiring the best coaches is the right way to do it. It's the right way to do it. Mark Dixon says LG is hired for recruiting. I'm not a recruiter, guys. I'm not a recruiter. Y'all just get that out of your mouth. I'm just a salesman. And I mean, I'm a free thinker and I'm a logical thinker. And as I think about this hiring process and I think about what I want for my football program, this is what I think about, right? So I think about guys like Trent Dilfer, and I think about guys like Matt Helmrich, who came from St. Thomas Aquinas and basically resurrected the St. John's Creek program, or not St. John's Creek, but the Johns Creek program. Or I think about, the what's that dude's name up in North Carolina? I can't remember. One of the all-time greats, Tommy Knotts. I think about Tommy Knotts. I think about, what's that dude's name? I think about Mark Smith down at American Heritage. I think about the great big names. Why not? Why not? Now, I'm sure that whoever we end up getting is going to be a fantastic coach, but I'm just sharing one person's approach to it. Now, watch, it could be a local coach that, the first time I meet him, he's going to hate me. He's like, Larry, I heard you said that you didn't want local coaches. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, man, let's go big. Go big. Mike Smith. I'm sorry. Did I say Mark Smith? I meant Mike Smith. You're exactly right, Coach Trainer. How did I forget that? Because I interviewed the guy. So anyway, Kenneth Hurst says, go big or go home. Jason Anderson's Rush Probst. Then he says, I'm kidding. I'm glad you followed that up with your kidding. That is one of the bigger names that I would not be interested in. Guys, we've talked about it a million times. Just not interested in going down that route. If it were me, if the powers that be decide to go that route, then we're going to have a little discussion. I'm just saying we're going to have a little discussion if they decide. But I know the folks at Lowndes. I'm 99.9998% chance, or I think I'm right there. So I don't think they would entertain that option, Jason. So anyway, so I just took about 45 minutes to basically make a case to the Lowndes decision makers that guys, you got a shot. You got one shot, because it could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now before you have another shot, right? If you end up hiring a wing tee guy and he runs the wing tee for the next 5, I'm telling you, you are going to bore your fan base to death. Now, that coach may win everything, but we are going to be bored out of our minds. And you are going, in this day and age, you're going to have a lot of athletes start transferring out of your program if you hire a wing tee guy. I'm just telling you the way it is. I've talked to a lot of athletes. I know a lot of people that have talked to a lot of athletes, and they don't want anything to do with a wing tee. They just don't. Now, does the wing tee still win? It does. It's got its place. Can it win again at the highest level? Can it win another state championship? It hasn't been done since what, 2009? Is that when the last time a wing tee team won the state championship at the highest classification? And that was Camden County in Jeff Herron's heyday. Can it win a region title? Possibly. Can it win a bunch of games? Absolutely. But will it win another state championship? Highly unlikely. Why? Because there's a lot of dang good teams in the state that wasn't around in 2009. There might have been a handful of teams that were really, really good in that 2000 to 2010 timeframe. But nowadays, man, if you look at 7A and 6A, it is loaded with talented teams. And if you run a wing tee system and you get behind, you're done. You're just done at the highest level anyway. So anyway, that's my rant, guys. It is almost 10 after 8. I've gone over my allotted time. Listen, it's Thanksgiving week. I hope you guys have a fantastic time. And I hope you have a very filling time. But whatever you do, be thankful. If you are a person of faith, I hope you thank the Lord, reach out to him, let him know how much you love him, how much you thank him for what you have, for the blessings that, even if you are currently facing a challenge in this world, just be thankful for what you have. And that's what this season is all about. And then once this week is over, then we'll be heading into the Christmas season. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Merry Christmas to you as well. So anyway, y'all have a great week. Go Vikings.